Welcome to Frequencies of Well-Being, the Philip Stein video podcast, a space for exploring ideas about natural frequency technology, mindfulness, and embracing your best self.
Hello, everybody, and once again, welcome to another podcast of Frequencies of Well-Being. Today, we're joined by a very interesting gentleman. His name is Richie Z. Richie Z is a singer, songwriter. He is a customer of Philip Stein, but he also worked for the past years in the cruise ship industry. And he promoted their several brands, and one of them, Philip Stein. So welcome to the podcast, Richie.
Hi, Will. Thank you for having me.
How are you doing there? Where are you now?
Doing good. I'm in sunny Orlando, Florida.
Sunny Orlando, Florida.
Nice weather, yeah.
Beautiful. But unfortunately, the cases of coronavirus increased in Florida, right?
Of course, yeah. We made international headlines, so I'm just trying to stay home, stay good, stay healthy.
Very
that's
good.
all I can do for now. Yep.
So tell our audience and our listeners a little bit about you, what you did, where you started from, and you mentioned to me you are a singer. Tell them a little bit about that first.
Sure. I've just basically, long story short, I've had a pretty adverse career. The past 10 years, I've traveled the world. I've traveled over 90 countries, and I'm mainly in the cruise ship industry. But I've done a lot of stuff on land, and that has ranged everything from singing to songwriting to port shopping, which is essentially a program on the cruise ships to, like you said, to help promote brands, some of the biggest brands in the world, Philip Stein, watches, jewelry, the whole thing. So the market's been amazing. I discovered Philip Stein along the way, and then of course got to help promote your brand as well. But all
when did you discover Philip Stein? When was that, Richie?
Interestingly enough, it was before I started to promote it, and it was about 5 years ago.
Really?
We do work with a lot of people. Obviously, being on ships, you're working with all the different jobs at once and so many different nationalities. And these people, the port shopping guys, I had come to some of their lectures just to support them because they're my friends. So I was introduced to the concept, and I had visited a lot of the stores in the islands in the Caribbean that do carry this before even working with the product itself. So that's when I started to hear of it. And then once I was able to experience it for myself, working with the brand specifically and really understanding the technology, and like I mentioned to you earlier, Will, working in the music industry, and understanding how frequencies work and how it does affect mood and change and biorhythms and everything across the board. It's amazing to see how a wellness product does tie into everyday life. I know it's affected mine, it's affected my friends, my family, and all the way up to international cruise passengers from literally across the world. And it's been amazing to see the consistency and the positivity, and it's such a great product and how it can promote to literally every lifestyle across the board.
And by the way, it's interesting what you just mentioned, the frequencies of music.
Yep.
I think they've done, I read once, they've done studies when you, let's say, for example, play classical music,
Yep.
what effect it has actually on your
Exactly.
cells and on your own body's frequencies.
Exactly.
And then compared to the music, let's say, of hip hop or rap, and they've even shown patterns of that.
Yep, it's completely changed. And I think it was back even in the 60s or 70s, but the essence of recording. So, go back to your point about frequencies. If you go to a classical music concert, or you listen to an opera singer, or you listen to natural vibrations, right? This even backs up, I'm going to throw in one more person in the loop. You look back to Nikola Tesla days, and Tesla had always said, to understand the universe around you, you basically have to understand three premises, energy, vibration, and frequency, right? And frequency in music, in natural music, increases, like you said, so many incredible aspects of the human field, right? Because we are all made of energy and frequency, etc. So those natural rhythms stimulated us. Now, the interesting thing is when the music industry came in, they actually changed it a little bit, and they went to 440 hertz, which across the board then is actually supposed to, which makes sense business-wise, to increase more of a addiction to the music you hear, which is why the hook or the chorus or certain melodies, when they're ingrained and replayed on the radio and replayed so many different ways in a different frequency, it causes us to remember them more, right? So it is amazing to see the different types of waves that have been affected everything from music to how it can change to its altered state. And that's why there's so many different frequencies around us.
Tell me, you as a singer, when you sing, let's say, a very soft, melancholic song versus an upbeat song, you probably also feel totally different, right?
It's a completely different. I mean, I was trained in opera originally. I mean, I studied when I was really, really young. I studied classical opera. I actually had I sang German arias, Italian arias across the board. And I started to major that at University of Miami. I was actually majoring in music and business and minoring in psychology, Spanish, and just those four. Sorry, yeah, just those four. Yeah, I was always wanted to learn more about music and business. But yeah, so with singing, you know, a natural tone, it definitely is a different feeling than when you're, I'd say, backing off as a singer and singing, you know, pop music or something else, because it is a different type of resonance.
And
right,
when you say natural
using.
Tone, you mean by opera singing?
Correct, your natural tone, because especially, I mean, opera in general is all about openness. You know, when we talk about the air you breathe, when you think about, let's say, yoga breath, you know, when you say a difference between taking a yoga breath and a regular breath, it's the same thing in a singer's world, like taking a singer's breath. It's that whole, you know, inhaling and everything. So you're using your entire body all the way down to your very bottom stomach muscles to project your voice, right? That's why opera singers are professional. As you see, they are on stage without microphones, you know, or the microphones are usually, you know, not on their faces, but they're back away, because you're using your entire body to project sound. Now, versus pop music or music,
which is your resonance body, basically.
Exactly. And the same premise can apply as fundamental technique to any other type of music, right? Because you obviously want to maintain your pitch and sound good and be on, you know, all the good things as singers. But when you change that, you do change how you're resonating, which does change the frequency essentially, right? It can. And then of course, with recorded music and technology, when, you know, you think of a normal pop artist, you record their frequencies, their voice, their pitches, their ambience, everything into a software, which then you can output it at a different frequency that's not too different, but at least that can influence the brain in different ways. And that does start with the singer too. So it is very different on the type of sound, and that comes down to the internal projection of your overall voice and body.
I see. Wow, I learned something. Excellent. So
good old education.
Yeah. So tell me, when you first came across Philip Stein, right? What product did you come across first? And was it a watch? Was it a bracelet?
The first time that I ever heard of something tied to it was the dual time zone watch, which I just thought was cool, because obviously not understanding, you know, the premise too well yet, but just seeing it as a product, I thought it was very different looking, which I liked, because I always, you know, being an artist, I like to stand out there and be unique and be different. So it was it was a dual time zone watch. And then I noticed what I would then a year and a half later to understand was the sleep bracelet. I didn't really understand it, but I did see them. So it was limited knowledge at the time, but a very cool, very modern, contemporary type of look, which of course I just thought was a very nice feature to the watch.
Okay, so after you now read a little bit and heard about Philip Stein, about the, you know, well-being aspect, and also the aspect of sleeping better, etc., and when you tried the product, did you notice right away a difference, or how long did it take you to notice a difference, and what kind of difference did you feel, you know?
So I'll back
Let's
up
start maybe
bit.
with a watch first.
Yeah, I'll back up a little bit in the sense that because I know there's gonna be people watching this too. This is the story that I have told on stage in front of thousands and thousands of people. This is the story that I have done TV ads for, again, in front of thousands and thousands of people. And it is a true story, right? Because at the end of the day, you know, and let's just be candid, there are such things as influencers out there, right? Which can stick to a script, and the script is knowledge. At the end of the day, what I'm going to share with you and the viewers is an honest, you know, very, very honest recap of it. Okay. Being an artist, I have always been very hypersensitive, very, very, very across the board. I feel, you know, I'm an empath. I'm very sensitive to energies and feelings and emotions. And when I first ever tried a Philip Stein product, it was in actually Cozumel, Mexico, at a retail store. And I put on a similar watch, and I felt just a little bit different. I don't know how to explain it, but it was instant. It was honestly different. I mean, instant, to the point where I had to kind of sit down and be like, okay, is this in my head? Is this placebo? Like, what's going on? It's kind of weird. And then long story short, I was talking to a few people that were interested in possibly buying it. The gentleman ended up purchasing it, and he had, I think, 5 days left of his cruise vacation, and he was a really cool guy. So him and his family, we all hung out a few times, we grabbed dinner. And he was wearing it throughout. And he had mentioned something too after a few days. He's like, you know what? I think I'm starting to feel a little bit different. So it made me think, okay, I think there might be something to this. But actually the first technology I ended up buying myself was the sleep bracelet. Because I had always been the type of person that I can fall asleep fine, but staying asleep, it's always been weird for me. And I never could understand a rhythm to it. So I said, you know what? Why not? And I did get it. And I will tell you, from night one was night and day difference for me, specifically. It kind of felt like I took an entire bottle of NyQuil, not in the drowsy effect, but in the fact of like, I crashed. Like, I was out, I slept very good. I woke up feeling good. I definitely had very vivid dreams. And I was just like, okay, so again, is this, like, where is the stand? And I started to use it over and over again as the same thing. Then I started to truly promote the brand and the product to, like I said, many people. Right. And my dad, and I always bring my dad into this because my dad is from Poland, and being Eastern European, that, Europeans, as you know, are generally very skeptical, on the things, versus the Americans. Especially
Germans. Like, I was born in Germany, and Polish.
And Polish. Yeah. They're like, just nothing. Well, yeah. So I understand that mentality, because I grew up with it. And even when he came to visit on a cruise vacation, and he came to see my presentations and such, and, he heard about it, but it was the same thing. And he came to ask me, and he said, so one of the things that you talked about was this, frequency product. Is that something that you're just, saying, or is that something that were true stories? And I told him the same story then too. I was just like, no, I'm like, this is legit. So I gave my dad my sleep bracelet, and my dad has borderline sleep apnea. So it's not like to the point where he needs a machine, but he has had trouble with sleep, etc. And he tried it on the cruise for a few nights. He said that he thought he felt something different, but it wasn't drastic. But I said, you know what? I said, keep it. I said, maybe it takes a little bit longer to kick in, because that's what I've heard as well. But try it. And I said, worst case, you can ship it back to me. I can pick up another one.
Sure.
And I will never forget that I got a call, or it wasn't a call. I was at sea, but I had like a voice note left to my phone, and it was about 6 a.m, Wisconsin time, because that's where he's from. And it was, I would say, about a few days after he got home. And he left me a pretty intense and short message, just saying, I don't know what this is, but I have not slept like this in years.
Wow.
And, and I was just like, okay, cool. And to hear my father say that, like I said, who you could not pay enough money to try anything, let alone, necessarily believe in something.
Right.
It was a very big statement. And that's something where I then got my mom on it. My mom's had many major surgeries, actually, when I was growing up. Same thing. I've gotten a few incredible artists that I'm fortunate of working with on it as well. And it's the same thing. It's how we're programmed socially, right? At first, you kind of don't want to believe it. You want to test it. You want to be skeptical. And then you're like, wow, I think there's something to it. And like I said, it's amazing for me to see, and just to throw this out for the viewers, you have to understand that my interactions for 10 years, 2 years were kind of theme park based, in the sense that you see thousands and thousands and thousands of people, right? 60 to 100,000 people a day walk through those parks. And cruise ships, 3,000 to 6,000 people change every week. So you get totally different people all the time. And what's amazing is to have people that will come up and say, oh, by the way, where can I get another Philip Stein product? Or, can I talk about Philip Stein on stage? Because you hear these stories, and then when you start experiencing them, you're like, wow. And I've never seen such a consistency in all of the multiple brands I've worked with of that same type of behavior, the same type of commentary, the same type of response. And that's what really hooked me. So that to me, I would create my own segments on the shows called Health, Wellness, and Sleep. And I would feature just that, because at the end of the day, it's not a jewelry product. Like, it's amazing that the watches are so beautiful, and that day bracelets are stylish, and I mean that's all great stuff.
Right.
But at the end of the day, the fact that you can have that and it's something that's actually beneficial to the human body, and especially during times like this,
right,
you know,
absolutely,
during a wellness awakening, I'd say, right? Because in general, like you talked that you're a vegan, and I got into more veganism, etc., and you understand how incredible the wellness concepts you can get into out there. This, I think, is right up there with
100%.
the best ones in the world.
And I just want to mention one thing to our viewers. I mean, you mentioned two fantastic experiences, immediate experiences, whether it was you or your father a little bit later. But I just want to mention that to our viewers, that this is not always the case. Some people take a little bit longer to get adjusted to the frequencies.
100%.
And the other thing I want to mention is our product is a lifestyle product. It's not a medical device. So, you know, if you have any real medical condition, you should always consult your doctor.
Good doctor.
That's very important. You consult your doctor, whether, you know, he is against wearing Philip Stein or not. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's all natural. So there's nothing bad about it. But I just want to make that comment to our viewers, because it's not a medical device. And, you know, we are all individuals. You know, you live a different lifestyle than I do, and we all eat differently. So every person, because we are individual, is going to have a different effect. Is going to have a different experience. Exactly. Totally. And I'm pretty sure that you, as a port shopping guide, you can also, you know,
across the board experience.
Tell maybe one or see. Tell us one experience of a customer who you've had. You know, I mean, when I go to the Caribbean and I meet the customers, it's really across the board, the experiences. You know, it's very interesting.
It is. And I think maybe it's lucky that I had such great experiences, you know, personally with it, the effects, but you're exactly right. I've had many, and I'd say a pretty healthy percentage of each type of person. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't say there's really one more than the other. I think everyone, like you said, was a unique case. But the common theme, I mean, I've heard people say, you know what, after, you know, a week or so, I wasn't sure, but then it started to kick in. You know, there's a lot of things that, you know, like you mentioned, the types of food we eat, the types of lifestyle we live, the type of exercise, the type of openness we are mentally, you know, to, you know, the energies around us, those all play in factors. So yes, and it's definitely not like, you know, it helps, or it can help, I should say, medical conditions, but you're right, it's not a medical device.
Right.
But I've seen everything from fellow, you know, high management people on ships, cruise directors, captains, even, etc., that will be like, yeah, you know, like religiously, since I tried this, I now wear the sleep bracelet every single night. Or that the daytime one for me, you know, I think I feel a bit better, but the nighttime I swear by, or vice versa, right? There are different products that do work differently. I know for me, it's the same thing. I know that the sleeping one, there's never been a night or a morning that I wake up and I think, did I wear it? Do you mean, like, I know I work. Now the daytime one, I stay pretty healthy and active and etc. So I mean, does it help, I think, my overall being? Yeah. But I mean, compared to other people that might have conditions such as headaches, or my friend, I know she was very prone to migraine. She worked on ships for 5 years. And because her ship specifically went out of New York down to the Caribbean, there's a lot of pressure changes. And Philip Stein was the first product she ever used that completely eradicated any. She said she's never ever once had a migraine wearing a Philip Stein day bracelet. You know, some people say it's helped their psoriasis. Some people say it's just helped, you know, just feel better in the day. And that's the thing, that the span of it is amazing. You know what I mean? So it's, you can't pinpoint like, yes, this is going to be doing this, but the general effects that it can do, it's definitely a tool in your toolbox.
Absolutely. And I think the way I look at Philip Stein, and actually it confirms what you just mentioned earlier. You became a vegan now, right? You said, when did you become a vegan?
So I got onto the concept about 4.5 months ago. I got off all red meat completely, and the only thing that I was still kind of dabbling in was completely organic, antibiotic-free chicken breasts, but that was just once in a while. And now I can say for, I think it's 6 weeks, I've been fully off meat, dairy, and then of course just in the style of healthy eating, I've been off sugar, etc. So you become very hypersensitive to your own feelings and your own body functions. So I will say
so now that you're a vegan, so now that you became a vegan, and let's say you see really differences in how you feel, how you behave, how you perform, and all of these things, and you see
Yep.
drastic positive changes, guess what? The veganism will become part of your lifestyle.
Exactly.
You will become more healthy through this, etc. And this is how
Yep.
I look at Philip Stein
It's
as
a lifestyle
well.
change.
It becomes part of your lifestyle,
Exactly.
It's not something which you take once and hope that your headache is going to go away. No,
Yep.
it's something which really, I call it runs in the background of your lifestyle, because
100%.
you don't have to change anything.
Correct. It's just there. It's helping you.
Exactly. The only thing, let's say at night, you put on a sleep bracelet, and that's it. And you don't have to monitor it. You don't have to sync it. You don't have to do anything.
Change batteries. Yep.
Exactly. So it just runs in the background. It becomes part of your lifestyle. And I think that's what people are looking for in today's world.
100%.
To improve their lifestyle, to improve their health, to improve their immune system, especially in this pretty crazy world we're living in right now.
For sure. And let's be honest, I mean, at the end of the day, we all would love a miracle cure for anything, right? But that doesn't exist.
No.
And that's the same exact thing you're referencing. It's more like, to me, it's just kind of like changing how you eat, right? Veganism is not a diet.
No.
It's a way of life. It's not going to, and of course you can try things out. And I think there are different people that have tried everything, typing from diet plans to this and this. But when you look at the word diet, I relate this to the same thing like you're saying, Philip Stein. You don't buy the bracelet to wear for 1 month and get good sleep and be done with it.
Exactly.
It's not to be like, oh great, I want to lose 10 pounds. It's no, this is going to affect your entire life, and you want your body to keep up with it. So yeah, totally, it's a tool in the toolbox. It's designed to help, and for some people's cases, it's amazing what it does help with, and for other people, it's going to be just another aid to help them along the health and wellness cycle.
Going a little bit away from Philip Stein, you mentioned veganism. What else do you do personally, especially now that, with all the lockdown and everything? How did you keep fit, and how did you keep also mentally, sane and fit?
Sure. That's a very good question. Very good question. I will, for the body thing, I'll keep short and sweet. I mean, I used to be growing up in Wisconsin and not understanding good eating habits. I used to be a very, very, very heavy kid. I was actually over 250 pounds about 12 years ago. And I lost 70 pounds over about 1.5 years of healthy eating, etc. So, I mean, my body has been through it. And I'd say in the past few years, there's been a lot of crazy things that have happened. So, I put back on some weight that I didn't want, right? And point being, though, is that, and that's why all of this diving into my own types of testing for my body. I mean, I got to the point I didn't want to listen to anyone else of what diet works or what this works. I'm just like, what's going to keep me healthy? It's not about the weight. It's not about necessarily the physical appearance. It is about what is healthy.
Right.
And that's what, when you start changing your mentality, and this ties into your second question of how do you stay sane mentally, is that when you start to change how you view the world around you from how, what I would call the social programming of it, right? The things you're kind of told, or what you choose to believe, or your upbringing, or whatever it may be. It's when you start to disconnect and start to really want to understand these topics because it benefits your own brain, your own body, your own mental well-being. And I think when you put yourself in that energy of self-love, and to connect with you, and to understand what can I do to not only change myself for the better, but that it will in turn change how I communicate with people, that will change the world around me in turn, right? That's the way to think about it. You want to start doing all the things that will benefit you, right? So it's not about your partner, or about your family, or about your job. Those are all very separate wants and needs. If you learn to distinguish just for yourself, like, what is it that I want? What is it that I need? What works for me? And you start dabbling into everything from the dieting to the wellness, to the different foods, to the different sleep patterns. We are all different. And that's something that I think we are all starting to wake up to as well, is that, just because, you are this type, whatever type you want to call it, does not mean your body functions the same exact way that the person next to you. We love to believe that, right? But at the same time, that's really not it. All of the factors do. So wrapping that all up is simply that, to keep my body healthy, it was Home workouts, I do Insanity, which I love from the Beachbody area because it's extreme, and I'm an extreme person. So I love to do that, and it's very effective. I think Insanity.
I have an app called Boot Camp.
Yep,
which
exactly,
is all without any equipment. It's just your body.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
think those are the best workouts, they're really,
absolutely
really,
the best. It's been great.
works
And
out
up
the
here in
entire
Orlando,
body.
yeah, and up here in Orlando, there's like a few very like smaller, like complex gyms that people don't go to, like, like Resort Complex or whatever. So so I've been dabbling, there and there, but I just try and stay smart. I think that relates to the same thing. So home workouts are amazing, self-research, reading, keeping up to date, and also I think keeping a very healthy mentality of the spread of information out there. Do you mean to objectively look at it and to realize, okay, don't be so hard-rooted into just one or two things when there are 20 different things across the board that you could be hard-rooted into. Do you mean I think right now it's healthy to take a step back, observe what is going on in life in general, in your own life. And that's how I've even kept mentally sane. Because if you just want to sit around and wait for normal to come back, you know what? This isn't new normal. And we need to realize that
I was going to say, I'm not sure
changing.
if the normal is going to come back.
It will. I don't think so. And there's goods and bads to that, right?
Yeah,
at the end of the day,
absolutely.
I will say, just to share from cruise ship experience and flying experience, right? Because I'm sure you have obviously been on ships and flown as well. It was always such a weird puzzle to me to think, why is it that, airlines don't sanitize their entire planes after 300, 400 people get off? And why don't they have, Lysol wipes or Purell stanchions the same way you would on ships? Because on ships, if you ever cruised before, if anyone's watching has ever cruised before, it's always about the hand washing, or the washy or the Purell. So I think there's some amazing benefits. I did fly up to see my father about 3 weeks ago, and to see, these notifications sent to your phone of like, the plane has been deboarded and completely sanitized for you, that they board from the back. Like, there's a lot of just logical things you would think that would have been happening that have started to. So the whole, I think, health conscious change is a very good thing, and some measures that businesses have gone to do that. It's amazing to see. But of course, with everything else, that's just time will tell, right?
From your experience as a port shopping guide, what is the most profound testimonial you ever gotten from a customer? Is there anything that stands out?
There's a woman on, I think it was my first or second month on my first season out. So basically in English, what that means is I was on a celebrity cruise ship. I was 2 months working on it, and there was a woman in a wheelchair that it was a sleep story, actually, and she has had a lot of ailments, a lot of issues, and very heavy hardcore sleep apnea, like the machine, right? And I think that's why it personally resonates with me, with my dad's story. And I remember she was one of the first people that came up to me at my desk and waited. Actually, I had a line of people and waited to speak to me personally to see if there's any possible way. And that she does this every year when she cruises to whatever, shopping host or shopping director there was at the time, to go and ask, how can I help you share the story of Philip Stein? And for her, it was that within a few weeks, she was completely off her machine, and she never has gotten back on in 4 years or 3 years or something like that. I mean, it was and I remember, because, you can tell it in someone's eyes and how they talk. And, I'm not talking about the extremely emotional people where they're going to, sob on you for what happened, but you can just tell in someone's eyes when you realize it was a life change for them, or that's something real, like, wow, I thought I'd be stuck like this the rest of my life. I want to help. Like imagine, the job, but for people out there, it's saying that, you have this one person on board that gives a presentation for up to, I've had close to 1,000 people, on some of my ships, at these presentations. And that you're sharing everything from, best places to buy rum cakes and t-shirts and alcohol, to the best places in the Caribbean to shop, the best beaches, you're guiding, everyone appropriately. And for somebody to come up and say, I want to take time out of my vacation to go on stage or help film something with you, or, because we do our own TV channels too. It was so passionate to say that this has changed her life and it can really change someone else's life.
Beautiful.
Was so, yeah, it was impactful. And there are multiple accounts of things like that. And across the board, like I said, my own family to multiple different guests. And I don't care where you're from. I've had people from Jamaica that have said the same thing. I've had people from Norway. I've had people from Australia. You know, it doesn't matter where in the world you're from. Obviously, just being human, it's going to help.
Amazing. All right, Richie, this was a very, very interesting podcast. I really enjoyed your stories and your authenticity and understanding of all of this. Really enjoyed the call and the podcast. We always finish our podcast with something called 5 vibes in 5 seconds. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 5 words, and you have 5 seconds to tell us your association to each of these words. Okay, what comes to your mind when you hear these words? All right. Okay. So let me read that out to you. So the first word is love.
That self-love is the most important. That's what I'm finding right now.
Okay. Next one is passion.
That should be waking you up every day. That's how I live my life. That way you should be waking up out of your bed to do your passion. I agree. Mindfulness. Especially in today's world, to be mindful of everyone's views and respects and stances on current society issues, and to be respectful of those.
Mm-hmm. Courage.
It takes all the courage in the world to keep walking through the doors that open for you. And that's how I've lived my life. And you got to keep walking through, and you got to not take no for an answer.
Beautiful. And the last one is happiness.
Wow. Love yourself, stay happy, stay smile, stay happy, stay kind. And that's how you should be.
Absolutely. And I think on that note, we all have to be happy, no matter what happens outside, because exactly. I think happiness comes from within, it all 100%. Is how you interpret it, and for example, in order to stay healthy and also focused, I meditate every day. And yes. Through meditation, which is at the end of the day, it's all frequencies, Totally. So that is what keeps me grounded and happy and positive and moving forward and all of this, because when I meditate, I go into into frequencies where, you're in a different space, basically. Exactly.
Yep. And I've been diving in recently to that as well. So I can definitely attest to that. And it's amazing to block out the noise, right? And just be in tune to your own frequency, because there is Yep.
That's exactly what it is. All right, Richie, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Enjoyed every moment of it. And stay healthy, stay safe there in Florida. And good luck for the future with your music.
Thank you, Will. Appreciate it.
Okay, take care.
Best of luck to you too.